All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me this evening. This is Terry with NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast, Sunday evening podcast. You guys know how I do it. All you followers that follow me, you know what I'm about on Sunday evenings. But I really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Hey, today, this evening, we have Neil. And Neil is from, Chi-Town, Illinois.
Chicago.
Chicago with Graveside Paranormal. Hey, man, introduce yourself.
My name is Neil with Graveside Paranormal. That is our parent company for all our ghost tours, as well as all the investigations that we do. And we have a podcast called The Paranormal Guys Podcast that is on all the outlets, as well as YouTube underneath our parent company, Graveside Paranormal, off of YouTube. You can catch all our episodes every other Wednesday that comes out after 12 p.m.
Wow. Hey, man, glad to have you on the show. Out of your busy day. I know you're a busy man up there. But, dude, I have so much to discuss with you about what's going on up in Chi-Town.
Sure, let's talk about it.
And, the people down here are curious, like every other paranormal investigator. We don't investigate, two of the same. Everybody's different, So I'm just a little curious on what you got going on up there. So, but we're going to take a quick break and we're going to, come back and we're just going to go heads in. Are you ready for that?
All ready. Ready to roll. Ready for the show.
All right. So let's go ahead and do this and I'll be right back.
And gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
All right, welcome back from that 40-second commercial, man. It's one of those things I had to do, but I kind of like it.
It was nice. I'm ready to go. Puts me in the mood.
Yeah, man. Graveside Paranormal, when I first contacted you guys, I thought, well, Graveside, man, that name really freaking sticks out to me. Are these guys really, do they deal really with cemeteries? But come to find out, you guys dabble in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's what we do. I've been doing this for on a full-time basis. I've been doing it for the last 9-10 years. But I've always been in the paranormal. I've always been in it ever since I was a little kid. I try to tell people, especially when we're doing the ghost tours, it wasn't that I was looking for the paranormal found me. Like a lot of people, actually, that happens to a lot of people, Terry, where they start to get interested in it because the paranormal, something happens traumatic or dramatic in their lives.
Exactly. But, man, apparently, you guys are doing something because I'm looking at your Facebook. Hey, guys, these guys have 2.6K followers and they got 2.2K likes. Hey, if we can get those numbers up tonight, man. You guys go on to this Facebook page. Hit that follow button, hit those likes, man, and let's get these numbers up, man. He would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. And you know what? I think you would appreciate it too.
Yeah, it's always appreciated. It's always appreciated. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. It's all yours.
So I was going to tell you how I got into the paranormal is that I was a little kid. And what happened with me is that my mom and dad, they went through some horrible divorce. And this isn't a boo-hoo-hoo story. This is more of a boo story. What happened was my mom used to wake up every night at about 3 o'clock in the morning screaming at the top of her lungs. For whatever reason, she never had a memory about what was going on. So like clockwork, I seemed to wake up one night around 3 o'clock in the morning before my mom started screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked inside the hallway. Now, mind you, I was about maybe 7, 8 years old. I was just a child. And I looked inside the hallway and I saw this small, impish looking creature. And it looked in my mom's room. And then it looked back into my room and smiled. And then it proceeded to go in my mom's room. And then that's when I put two and two together. And that's when she began to scream. I grew up finally researching what it was, and they're called imps. Imps usually come in threes, and they usually cause a lot of disruption in people's lives.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's how I got introduced to the paranormal, actually.
And what side of town did you live on when this was going on?
I grew up on the south side of Chicago.
You know what? I'm going to be very honest with you, man. If I was in your shoes and I seen that in the hallway, it's a good chance that, yeah, that little dude would have got his ass whooped. I'm just telling you, if it's something that that's interfering with my mom, hey, mom comes first, man. You just gotta take that fear factor out of there. Hey, like you said he was a little guy, right?
Well, yeah, but remember, this is something to a child, 7, 8 years of age. I mean, I'm not knocking you. Maybe you would have done something like that, but. Yeah. When you're a child, when you see something like that, it was a very trollish looking creature, if you will.
Mm-hmm. I would troll his ass. That's what I would have done. Yeah. Hey, you've been doing this far too long to my mom. It's payback time.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I always wondered, because I grew up on a rough neighborhood, and but I did not experience. I experienced things, in my house, but it wasn't a widespread thing that happened throughout the neighborhood and the community. So whenever something happens, it's like sporadic. Something you'll hear about something over there, you'll hear about something over here, but it never really happened in the neighborhood that I grew up in. But it's outside of Chicago, man. He's a bold dude. Coming up in the house like that.
Yeah.
He a bold dude, bro. I would have picked up a damn broom,
baseball bat.
I would have got him.
Yeah.
I would have got him. I'm just saying, man. Well, you know what? Glad to have you on the show, man. I'm glad you're here to tell me your stories. Sure. And ask question. I gotta ask you a bunch of questions, man.
Sure, go ahead. Knock yourself out.
That first things first, I like to thank everybody that's on the show tonight. Different platforms that we're on. Hey, all you guys that are on the Kick platform, hey, appreciate you guys coming on the show. All you guys on the Rumble, hey, appreciate it. Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Facebook fans page, Facebook NSPS TV Paranormal, and NSTV Paranormal Podcast. Hey, welcome you guys to the show. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me and my guest. Hey, let's keep this thing rolling, man. That's really good. Let's keep it going. All right, now since we got that out the way, Neil.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your team, man.
Well, my team, we've had the team for about maybe a good 9, 10 years. It's mainly with myself and a guy named Steve. He is my tech guy. He built a thing called the Anahata Spirit Portal Box, where we actually we run it through an IP address. It's a spirit box, but with no white noise. Some other people do have almost the same kind of things that we have. It's almost like the Huff box, but it's a different design. We've actually made contact with people. We actually had a lady who had a full-on conversation with her mother-in-law, and we have the whole video up on our YouTube channel at Graveside Paranormal, and you can see it's like a 3-minute video, but she's holding a conversation where you're asking questions and you're getting intelligent replies to those questions. And when you start having that kind of connection going on, you have to really ask yourself, what is going on? And I'm not saying that these things work perfectly or anything like that. They don't. Sometimes you have to take it as a form of entertainment. but he is the tech guy, Steve. And then I have a couple of girls who work for me. One named Kylie. She's a younger girl. And then I have a girl named Michelle. They're both sensitive psychics, and they do a really, really good job. I try to keep my team to a very small team. The reason why is I don't like dealing with a lot of drama. I don't want everybody's drama. Oh, this happened in my life. That happened in my life. Ah, boo-hoo-hoo. I don't want to hear it.
Okay. I understand that one. I really do. But you know what, man? Let's dive into Chicago. Chicago has been around a very long time. And man, do you do a lot of investigations around Chicago, or do you just focus on the outside area of Chicago?
So I've investigated a lot of places in Chicago. The reason why is because, like, take for instance our tour company. We run a bus where we take 40 or 50 people out on a nightly basis, mainly in the October and September months. And we videotape everything we do. And so when I take you to a place where somewhere in Chicago, we'll say Chet's Melody Lounge, which is well known as have you ever heard the story of Resurrection Mary?
Yes.
Okay, so Resurrection Mary is a story about a young girl who died in like 1920s or 30s while walking out on a place called Archer Avenue and got hit by a car. And supposedly her spirit in a white dress, and they're all over the world, it seems to be. There's always a spirit in a white dress, is walking up and down Archer Avenue. Well, it so happens they would go into a famous place called Chet's Melody Lounge right off of Archer Avenue. And we actually videotaped in there, and we show everybody the evidence that we find. People really, really, really enjoy it. So everything that I do, I investigate and I give to you to show you what you're walking into. And then what we do is we do a small investigation. I tell, of course, the history, blah, blah, blah. But then I also I do an investigation for everybody. And I let everybody part of the investigation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I try to make it. I'm a big believer in entertaining people. Everything that we do, who's in the paranormal tour company field, you have to entertain people. Don't get me wrong. There's the realism of the investigation, sure, but you want to know what? You want people to actually be part of that show. People watch all these shows and this and that, and they want to be part of something. So that's what we do: is we make you part of what's going on. I think it's important to do that for your customers.
Yes, I really do, man. I think you got to capture their imagination.
Oh yeah, you cannot be boring in whatsoever. You have to be out there. You have to be well spoken. You have to know what you're doing. You just can't go out there and just do these things.
No, man, it takes a certain amount of talent, to do that. Man, your tour guide seems to get you. Does it get you well connected in certain locations?
Yeah, like take for instance, we have a story that's called Monk's Castle, which is also Archer Avenue. So let me just talk about Archer Avenue for 1 second. So Archer Avenue, what I was talking about with Resurrection Mary, you of course heard of a thing called ley lines, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Archer Avenue is a long stretch of road that goes from down from the suburbs of Chicago all the way into the Chinatown area of Chicago. And there's known to be ley lines that lay underneath the earth, which is causing supernatural activity. And how I best explain this is that think of it as like a faucet, and think of it as from environment. If the environment is just right and that faucet is turned on, that faucet, as in the ley line, will turn on a little bit. Maybe a little bit of drips of supernatural will come out, and maybe some things can happen. But if some major changes in the environment that causes and replicates those same conditions, then that faucet's going to open up even wider. And so now you're getting a full flow of that supernatural thing that is going to be happening from underneath the ground that they call ley lines. And up and down Archer Avenue, what I'm telling you in Chicago, is full of it. We have a place called St. James Cemetery, otherwise known as Monk's Castle, where people have seen floating monks floating through the cemetery at night. They will also catch blue orbs. We've actually, over the summertime, we actually caught some blue orbs going through that cemetery at night. it's you, my customers, that actually catch majority of all of my evidence. Like we have caught so many shadow people last year. We were actually on MSN News last year
Mm.
for the shadow people that we caught. I was on Coast to Coast AM with Tim Banal. He featured us with the shadow people that we caught at Archer Woods Cemetery. If people want to see the pictures, you can go to our Graveside Paranormal, or you can send me Neil at gravesideparanormal.com, and I'll be more than happy to share these photos with people. Some of these photos, you're going to be like, oh my God, how unbelievable. We have been blessed with finding a lot of things up and down Archer Avenue. I recommend people, it's not to say buy a ticket with Neil. Come out here. Check what's going on, because there's another really, really crazy place. Have you ever heard of a place called Bachelor's Grove Cemetery?
Mm-mm.
All right. So this place here is the oldest cemetery in Chicago, and there's only a couple of tombstones left. And this was
Oh,
from
wow.
the 1800s. Okay. And it was only built on 1 acre of land. It was meant for a family. And people have been going in there for years, trying to do contact with whatever is on the other side, but they're all doing it in the wrong way. There's a form of possession that is going on these grounds. What happens is you start getting these people who come in here and they think, oh, I'm going to make this deal with whomever, and I'm going to get all these great things. And they do all these sacrifices and this and that, using certain chants. And they think, oh, I'm going to get some special powers. But you want to know what? Here's the thing: is intention. You intend to do something like that, well, damn well, you're going to get attention.
Exactly.
And these things are going to find you. So what happens is, as more and more of these people start opening up these, if you will, portals, or opening up these little zones, and they don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to close it, well, now people are getting attachments. And we actually had it where people are getting attachments inside these things. And it's from doing this, that's a form of possession that actually happened on the grounds of Bachelors. This is my theory, is that by doing this, you're opening up these things and attachments are coming out and they attach upon people. We actually had a thing where, like, on the avenue, on the trail of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, we sat out there with our Anahata box and we record. Like I said, we record everything. I started noticing that all the replies to our spirit box were reverse. So I put it back inside my Audacity program and I reversed and ran a forward plane, because I knew that these voices were talking backwards. I call them mirror zones. And what happened was we started flowing them back forward and started getting words like Angel Michael. I had his training. And many other different words going up and down this trail at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. I recommend your viewers to look up Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. Also on our video, you'll see that video where we reversed the audio on it and we replayed it forward. And you're going to hear the replies. None of it's played with. I don't do any of that stuff. We have to sit there for hours listening to these EVPs, spirit boxes, and we have to give the best determination what we're hearing. We actually argue about these things, but I will never, ever do it to a customer as give them anything that's fake. What I find is I find, and it's up to you to say, I believe or don't believe. I'm not going to ever tell somebody to believe or not to believe.
Right. Wow. Okay. Now, quick question. What do all these cemeteries, man, that has this activity going on in there, what is your take on what you think is going on? Because I'm pretty sure people ask you, man, what's going on in this cemetery where all these people are just buzzing around? You know, it's got to be something going on. What is your take on that?
Well, there's actually a lot of takes on it. You know, there's a lot of different theories, but one of them is that we as Americans, okay, we all came over here and we started living here. But before any of us got here, what was here? Native Americans, right? They were all here. And so their impressions are still in timelines, as you know, as people know from a residual haunting, right? We know of residual hauntings as things that are played back throughout time, through traumatic and dramatic things that happen in timelines. They don't affect you, but we know that they do happen. But the thing is that so much trauma and drama that happened on probably the grounds in Illinois. We had what was the name? We had the Native Americans that were here that lived on these grounds, and of course they had their own burial grounds. Exactly. So we don't know if we're burying upon grounds with burial grounds, our own burial grounds, disturbing something. And then you also have to think the 1920s and 30s, Al Capone era, right?
Mm.
Such a traumatic era. People, guys just killing gangsters, killing each other, throwing themselves in ponds and lakes all over throughout the Chicagoland area. And you have
Uh-huh.
all these things that are a perfect recipe. And you have ley lines that lay underneath the grounds of a lot of areas in the Chicagoland area. And you're doing all these things. Well, you're making your own haunting. So the best way to explain it is that history has made the hauntings that happen in Chicago. Could they
Interesting.
be? Could they be residual? Sure, maybe some. Could they be lost souls because they were shot and they didn't know they died, and their
Mhm.
ethereal umbilical cord broke and they didn't know they died? So, but the thing is that you have to slowly go through each and every haunting and try to factor out what it's not doing. Like I tell a lot of people, take for instance, the Chicagoland area. Okay, we have a place called the Irish Legend. Down in the basement of the Irish Legend is believed to be a little child by the name of Adam. And he's supposed to be the illegitimate child of Al Capone. He's supposed to be, okay? There's a lot of stories that go out there, okay?
Mm.
But when we go down there, and I had an SB7 down there, I go, Adam, are you down here? It's in one of our videos as well. I go, Adam, are you down there? He goes, I'm sick. And it's like a little boy's voice. So
Oh
you've
wow.
heard that down in that basement. But here's the thing is, I've made this mistake before, and I'm sure I'm going to make it again, is that you start realizing what it really is. It's a manipulative spirit that's down in this basement. It's not a child. It's pretending it's a child. So it can lure you in. And when it lures you in, then what does it have? It has you. It's got
They
you.
got you.
They got you. So then what I did once is that I actually said that down in the basement, I said, you know what? I really believe this is a manipulative spirit. And when you call a spirit for what it is, and if your viewers and your ghost hunters out there and this and that, because I try to say is the minute that you call something out for what it is, it'll stop playing with you because now you told the truth. That's my belief. It's happened to me many times. I was at the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas. You ever been to the Sally House?
Yeah. That's a very interesting place.
Yeah. So that there is also there's two strong entities inside that house. And I called it out for what it was, and then by 12 o'clock it was done playing with us. But we had a lot of activity for the day.
Mm. Chicago, man, which side of Chicago would you say the most active side? There's history all over it,
Well,
but which side is more active than the other?
I would actually say the south side, southwest side is the most active because you, like I was talking about Archer Avenue, that
Mm-hmm.
is the most active side of the paranormal. But it's just that we have so many, and I'm not lying to you, man. There's so much paranormal that's in the Chicagoland area, and it's unbelievable the amount that happens in the Chicagoland area. It's just completely nuts.
I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't. I was looking down for a second, thinking my thoughts.
Are
What
you
was it?
looking at the comment? Can you see the comment?
I saw something go by. What was the comment?
All right, let me post it back up there.
Neil has a spirit in him and is not really a family member. It's attachment, a male spirit, and he brought him home with him. Not cool. All right, Irene, all right. So you might be right. So one of the things that happens to me on routine, I wouldn't say routine, but does happen to me. So I'm an empath, okay, Irene.
Mm-hmm.
I hear voices out of my left ear and I get people's impressions and I get their emotions and I'm able to go into places and I'm able to slowly kind of get things to understand them better. And I also have had people come to me in dreams. That also happened on one of our tours. And I can tell you that in a minute, but I would get back to Irene. You might be right, Irene, is because the things that I do, and I don't recommend everybody to do the things I do, even though sometimes we try to cleanse ourselves the best way we possibly want to, either through prayer or whatever little things that you want to do, utilize. And it's always up to the individual. I explain to them, whatever makes you feel good. But yeah, you're probably right that there is. But I've understood this for some time now, that there are always things that are around me. Like last night, actually, I was in Wisconsin and I spent the night with my wife at this one place, and for whatever reason, my phone kept draining all night long. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this? And then I remember having this dream. And I swear to God, Terry, when I tell you this, last night I had this dream about this Native American lady telling me that her daughter had to get this message to somebody. And as weird as it may sound to what I'm saying to you, and I understand sometimes people, they go, what the hell are you talking about, Neil?
Right.
And I get it. And I get it. I totally get it. I would look at me and go, oh, shut up, please. But these are the things that happen. So get back to your attachment. Yeah, there probably are some things around me, but I do the best that I can to ward them off. And the one thing that I tell people, Irene, is be positive. As long as you're positive each and every day to each and every night, and you find faith in whatever your faith is, everything's going to be cool. No, Irene, at this time, no. Right now, if I do have it, I do see somebody. Thank you, though. That's very nice of you.
Interesting. How hard is for you to, if you want to add members, man? How hard is it for you to find members in Chicago?
Actually, it's not. It's not hard at all, man. Chicagoland area is so full of investigators. I actually get emails from people saying, "Hey, can I join your team?" This and that, and I have to say no to people because, once again, like I told you at the beginning, I try to keep it to a small base. Yeah, because I'm telling you, you start. There's certain individuals out there who are going to bring drama and negativity, and I'm not about to get into your world to get into my world. It's not going to happen, man.
Yeah, I understand that. Man, what do your family think about what you do?
Well, my wife doesn't mind at all what I do. It's just she knows this is what I do. My kids make fun of me, of course. They what's Dad doing today? Oh, he's going to go chase a ghost. Oh.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's okay though. You know what? They love you. They really do. It's just they have to have fun with you.
Yeah. What would you think if your grandparents or your mom was alive? What would they think about what you do?
Well, my mom. All right, I'm going to tell you an interesting story because I always like to tell certain kinds of stories because I think it's important. If I have a moment in time to say something positive, I think it's important. My mom was actually a nun. My dad was actually a brother. They both worked for the Catholic Church, but they didn't meet each other until after they both left, right? My dad was a Chicago fireman, and then my mom became a school teacher. My mom knew what I was doing. I actually used to play with Ouija boards when I was a kid.
Uh-oh.
I used to, yeah, exactly. And this is one of the things I tell people is do not do these things. I didn't understand. I was ignorant. Now I was young and ignorant. Now I'm just old and stupid. Is that I used to play with them by myself. And when I used to play with them by myself, you would take on someone else's emotions. Now, not knowing that I was an empath and not realizing what I was doing, I'm now taking on another person's characteristics. And I cannot control certain emotions because I don't understand those emotions. Now, here's the interesting story is my mom died about maybe 4 years ago, Terry. And she died a couple of weeks before my birthday. And I like to tell this story because I think it's important to tell people these stories. Is that I was thinking about how my mom used to always give me a birthday card, right? She used to throw a $20 bill inside there. It wasn't the $20 bill though, man. It was the idea that your mom still went and gave you something, right?
Right.
That's important. So I go and I get this feeling, like, man, I wish I could get that again. So I'm in my office area and I look down the hallway and I see this thing drop to the ground. And I said, I'll pick it up when I leave leave work. And so I start leaving work and I see on the ground, I pick it up. It's a birthday card. It says happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't for me, but the point here is that I was thinking about it and how I used to love my mom getting it. And I'm walking out the door and I see a birthday card right there, man. That's why, you know that there's spirits that are around you always. Your family members are always around you. Your friends, your family, they are always on you. Not 24/7, but that's my mom. She didn't mind what I did. She thought I was nuts, but there was other reasons why she thought I was nuts. But like all moms do, you know. But
Oh yeah.
I wanted to share that story with you. I think it's important to tell good
Okay,
stories.
what would you tell somebody who's want to follow in your footsteps? What would be the first advice that you would give somebody?
Um, if you want to be a ghost hunter or investigator, researcher, however you want to word it, you really need to go to find somewhere tame to do these things at first. And what I mean by tame is go to a spiritually active house and learn about spirituality first. Don't go jumping into like some of these houses, like the Monroe House that's in Indiana. That's a very, very negative home. I've been there. Don't do things like that. Don't try to reach out to things that you don't know nothing about, and don't pretend in your head that you do by watching all these TV shows. Because
Yep.
I did that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did that as a child. And you know what? Like I talked about intention. You go ahead and you go play those games, and these things will respond to you. It's a fact. So those are one of the things I would say to young men and women. If you're going to get in, great. If that's what you truly want to do, great. But right now, just do as like a hobby thing and go into something that's very tame. Just learn. And that's the other thing is I talked about all these haunted places that you rent out. Think of them as like classrooms. Okay, that's the way I think of them. I'll rent out Whispers Estate. Let's say Whispers Estate. It's located in Indiana. I'll go rent that out, but I'm utilizing it to learn. So that when people do send me emails or call me on our business line saying, "Hey, Neil, can you help me out?" When I walk into a place, I'm able to recognize trends that happen in haunted areas. And that way I can recognize what's going on in this house. Is it residual? Is it earthbound spirit? Is it intelligent? And by taking away some of those one thing at a time, you're then going to realize what possible the problem is with this person's haunting.
Mm. You know, Neil, a lot of people have called me, and I'm pretty sure they've called you a ghost hunter. And some people have called me a paranormal investigator. Can you tell the viewers the difference between the two? Because a lot of people are little, they think they're both one, and they're not.
All right. Well, all right. So let's just say the word paranormal investigator. The word paranormal investigator is thrown out. Anybody can grab it. It's not like there's some school that's out there that you're getting some degree in. Okay. Let's just be honest about these things. People just go ahead and grab these monikers and go ahead and throw it up. And I don't use it myself. I actually think of myself as a researcher. When I use the word researcher, I try to research the area. I try to research the history, what's going on. The investigator part to that is talking to the people who own the place, getting their evidence, gathering your evidence, of what is going on by interviewing them and this and that. So your researcher part, researching the background of the place or the area. Investigator is the one who's going to be a detective, right?
Right.
That's what an investigator is. So this detective is going to go ahead and sit down with the family or the business, and we're going to sift through certain things. Ghost hunter means that, to me, once again, it's Neil saying this, I'm just going out hunting for ghosts, man. No reason, no rhyme, no whatever. I just want contact. I hope I explained that well enough.
Yeah, perfect. Because clearly the difference between the two, but it also, if you're a ghost hunter, you're actually, man, that's pretty dangerous, because like you say, you're going in and you want to make contact, and there's always that situation you might, like you've been saying, there's always a situation where you might contact something you don't want to contact.
Yeah, and I tell people that. That's why I say your audience is go somewhere tame.
Yeah.
There's a place called Ashmore Estates that's located in the Illinois area. That people just love this place. I actually have never been there, but I keep wanting to go there. But there's nothing benevolent there, and people are just getting contact. Or a place called the Roth House That's in Watseka, Illinois, where it's the first documented case of possession in America, actually. And it's a very spiritually active home. So I recommend people to do that at first.
Now, are you, let's say for an example, and I ask everybody this that come on the show, are you qualified to get rid of something that's never been on this earth before?
No, I'm not qualified, man.
Okay, do you know anybody?
Yeah, I do. I use like I can reach out. I have a list of people that I can reach out to. The way I explain it to, let's say you're my client, right? You call me and say, Neil, I have this problem in my house, da da da. Can you help me figure it out? Well, I'm going to do the best to my ability. And then the minute that I can't go any further, well, then I give a phone call to somebody and I say, hey, I need your help. I got a family here that's, needs some really good help. How can you help me?
And that's good, because a lot of people try to take that responsibility onto themselves, not knowing if they can handle it or not. When they decide, well, hey, I can't handle this situation, they'll leave it. And then they'll turn around, and the next person is not only got to clean up their mess, they got to solve the problem also, because now you're getting two for the price of one.
Yeah. And the other thing is, when someone tells you they're an expert, okay, tell your audience this. There are no such things as experts, okay, ladies and gentlemen. There are none. There's only very good researchers. There's people who are going to say, hey, I'm an expert. I do this, I do that. I'll talk to the dead. I'll get rid of somebody for you. Bull crap. Do not believe them. I'm just being honest, man. Because there's a lot of people out there who are like that. And I'm not saying I go out there and I'm going to draw the demon out of you, girl. It doesn't work like that, man.
Yeah.
So the thing is that I don't believe that people are experts. There's only very good researchers. Until the moment I drop dead and go off to that ethereal realm and I can come back and tell you everything, I don't know doo-doo.
Understand that one. Most of your investigations, what exactly are they? Are they residential, or are they commercial, or either urbanite?
They're actually a mix of everything. I do people's personal houses. I get emails from people. Actually, I've gotten emails from people in other countries. I'm like, I can't get there. It's not going to happen. I don't even have a passport, dude. And then, but businesses call me. During COVID, it was crazy, man. I'm getting all these Chicago bars that are calling me saying, Neil, we're closed, but I want you to come in here and I want you to do it. Now, the thing is, I do everything for free. I don't charge people, but there's a catch. There's a catch to everything in life, Terry. Yes. The catch is any evidence I find becomes property of Graveside Paranormal. That's something that would be understood. If you want me to help you, you got to help me. And exactly. I don't lie about that. But I don't ask for nothing, no money. If you want to buy me a pizza, great. That's fine.
Okay, well, cool. Man, Chicago deep style pizza, man. I don't know if you remember Godfather's Pizza. That's probably before your time.
It might have been. Yeah. I remember the name Godfather's Pizza, though.
Yeah. Oh, man. They opened up a chain of restaurants that ran from Chicago all the way down to Texas. And they took over the tech. They took it from Getty's. They took it from Domino's. They took it from Pizza Hut. That was the #1 chain in the state of Texas. But I don't know what happened to them.
I don't know. I remember the name. You know what? It's funny that you said the name Domino's. Now I'm going to tell you, I know this has nothing to do with the paranormal. We were talking pizza for a second. So a couple of years back, my one of my kids had a birthday party, right? And what do you do for the kids' birthday? You buy these cheap pizzas. So you order from Domino's, right? And I'm going to tell you something, dude. They had this Philly steak pizza from Domino's that was off the chain. I was like, damn. I was like, man, this stuff is good, man. I didn't mean to get off the subject, but you're talking.
Oh, you're good. You're good
too,
But man, I don't know what happened, man. I would like to know what happened. Yeah. Man, they tell me, this is just me. I might be wrong, but some of the brothers up there I talked to said Wrigley Field is haunted.
All right, yeah. So there's stories of Wrigley Field of being haunted. I've never investigated inside Wrigley Field. They'll never let you inside Wrigley Field to do something like that. And I actually, I don't know if it's about a boy that's supposed to be inside Wrigley Field. But I do remember hearing a story about that inside Wrigley Field, that there is supposed to be something inside there. But there's also the curse that's in Wrigley Field that dealt with the goat. Have you ever heard the goat story?
Uh-uh.
So what happened was I have to remember to try to get this story is correct, and I know I'm going to mess this up, is that the Cubs were close to a World Series or something like that. It was a year, I don't know if it's 1903, something like that, 1908.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody brought a goat inside of Wrigley Field, and supposedly it caused a curse. And that's why they were never able to win another World Series or anything like that ever again.
Wow,
It's a weird story. And I see, I'm not a Cubs fan. I'm a Sox fan. So, yeah. So, yeah. But I do know
it was, I think I was watching WGN. Is that one of y'all TV networks up there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's, you remember, I don't know if you remember a show called Bozo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that WGN studio is actually supposed to be haunted. They're supposed to have a hauntings inside there. Actually, I was just last October, I did filming for, you ever hear a show, TV thing called Me TV?
Mm-hmm.
So I was on Me TV on one of their shows, and they were telling me about the things that were going on inside there. Because part of it is, I believe it was part of the old WGN studio.
Right.
I remember right, yeah.
Wow. And also, man, it was, I think I saw this on YouTube where at Soldier Field, the security guard heard some banging and went into the locker room, and the banging stopped. He actually saw the locker going like this,
Yeah.
and it stopped. So it kind of freaked him out. But when he went back outside the door, it started banging again. And man, hey, that's from what I was told, that security guard never went back.
Yeah, well, I believe that, but I've actually never heard that story, and I've never heard of a haunting at Soldier Field that I know of. I'm not saying there isn't, but I never ever heard of any hauntings at Soldier Field other than their fabulous losing streak. That's about it.
Well, you know what? Hey, tell me some of the all right, tell me some of the historic hotels that are in Chicago you're able to get into, you know, and you're able
a lot
to
of people, a lot of ghost hunters. One of my friends, Tony Sabelski, he is able to get into a place called the Congress Hotel, which was well known for Al Capone always going to this hotel. It's right off Lake Street. I think it's right off of Lake Street, and it's called the Congress Hotel. Now, supposedly, what was the name of that movie that dealt with this guy who would go inside of a room because he wrote a book on ghosts or something like that. I'm trying to remember. But the Congress Hotel is loosely based off of this movie that came out, and I remember seeing it last year, but it's an older movie. It'll come to my mind. So there's a story of a lady who threw, I believe, her kids through a window or jumped out the window. There's many sightings of gangsters inside this place. That's probably residual hauntings that are going on. But Congress Hotel is supposed to be a very legitimate place for people to go to. So I know that my friend Tony, he does a ghost tours through there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. How many ghost tours are there in Chicago besides yourself?
There's just me and another company called American Hauntings. And then you have also your people who do like bar ones. They put up ads and this and that. And they're going to go do a tour. But we are, besides me and American Hauntings, we're the only two professional companies out there.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So you pretty much got the whole south and north side of Chicago running, huh?
Well, I stay on the whole southwest side of Chicago. because there's more than enough stories on that area there to do things. And then what I do is we also rent out houses, and I send people to houses, haunted locations, and I have a tour guide there for you. And what we do is we let you use all of our equipment, and we send you all your recordings as an audio recordings to your email for you to investigate and discover for yourself.
Oh wow, that you know what? That's cool.
Yeah,
Nah,
I
that's
try.
really cool. Hey man, let's talk about Hollywood for a minute.
Okay.
What do you think about Hollywood and how they portray paranormal investigators?
Okay, let's talk. Uh, let's talk the Conjuring movies, okay, for a second, okay? I enjoy them. I enjoy them immensely. Do I love the Conjuring movies? Yes, I do. Do I know that that's Hollywoodized? Yes, I do. They're only going to tell you a little bit of the truth of things. I think
Mhm.
the most, and I talk to people who are exorcists, and I've sat down with them. You ever see Zach Bagans' The Demon House?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the priest in that one, right?
Okay.
Okay, he's the priest in there, and I talked to his assistant, and I've had him on my podcast before. And there's a movie, and I recommend everybody please listen to what I'm going to say. There's a movie out there called Nefarious. This movie here is, and this came out maybe a year and a half ago, is the closest thing to what true possession is. Now you can watch the Conjuring movies, the movie The Exorcist. Don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of ounce of truth to each and every story that you hear. But this movie, Nefarious, talks about a guy who is in prison, is going to be executed. And he has to see a psychiatrist because he's saying that to see if he's psychically able to be psych abled to be, not psychically, psych abled to be electrocuted. So they want to make sure, because he's saying he's possessed by the devil. So a psychiatrist has to go and see this guy. And the back and forth talk between these two is like, I recommend this movie. It's like nothing you've ever seen. It's like total truth. If you listen to it, you'll know that's true. What this inmate is saying to the psychiatrist about possession. This guy here who did this movie, the actor in it, I forget his name, he should receive an award. I mean, it was so good. To me, anyways, it was so good. This is probably the best Hollywood movie out there that can really, really say this is what possession is. Because the mainstream media doesn't want this movie to be put out. So they were actually trying to keep it under wraps. But eventually it got on Amazon, it got on all those other things. And still, this thing doesn't get out like it should. And it's called Nefarious.
Nefarious.
I recommend.
I'm going to check that out. Okay, let me ask you a question. Give me a percentage number on some of your cases where it's been more mental than paranormal, because a lot of people that claim that they have stuff going on in their house, it's not always the case. I mean, a lot of it is mental. Then it's more mental than paranormal. What is exactly your number and your take on that?
Okay, and I would actually say for the people who call me or email me, and understand I'm trying to say this with the best canter. There's a lot of people out there who have issues in life. It's just the way it is. There's a lot of people out there who watch all these shows, and they all want to be part of a show, okay? Which is all fine and good. But there's these people that are out there that are going to try to trick you into believing their scenario. So that's why we do a pre-investigation. You do a pre-investigation to weed out people and see what's really going on through the evidence that you get. And sometimes it's happened. I may not get evidence that time, but the second time I go out, I will. You have to understand there are people out there who have psych issues, and they think that they're hearing voices. And just so you know, there's a fine line between my belief. There is a fine line between psych disorders and having attachments or anything outside forces that are messing with your life. I believe there's a fine line between that. Influences, if you will, that'll influence you. I get more of a higher percentage. I'm not going to give an exact number, but I get more of a higher percentage of people who think they're having a paranormal situation, where sometimes what it is, it's them. Or maybe it's their home. Like you've seen on the show Ghost Hunters and this and that. Hey, maybe they're carbon monoxide or something like that. Or maybe their junction box isn't sealed correctly. These things are actually real.
Right.
So, but you will get a smaller percentage of people who do have serious problems. And I'll note it with this is that I really do believe that's happening more often now of real things. I swear to God, I really do believe that. And it's not to just throw it out there to sell it. I really do believe that. I seem to get a lot of calls of a lot of people, which is odd in the Chicagoland area, of shadow people in closets. So, especially in the Midway area, the Midway Airport area. And when I get those, I take it very seriously, especially when it deals with children. Because when it deals with children, I try to take it seriously. Don't get me wrong. I have come across a case where a parent was manipulating a child to get them to think that they had a haunting. And it's hard to engage that person and tell them, hey, I think you need to see a psychiatrist, without them getting upset. So you're going to be sometimes caught in situations where, like, what do I do? Because like I said, I go day by day trying to figure these things out. And sometimes talking to certain individuals, you're not going to get the response that you think you're going to get, and they're not going to take it well. So I would say it's a smaller percentage, other than the larger percentage of people who send me emails thinking that they have a haunting or they have something, if you will, demon inside them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, man, it's, people ask me that number. People ask me, and I always tell them, and I always try to be with the numbers. I'll try to stick to the numbers. And I can honestly tell you that most of my cases, and I'm being truthful to you, most of it has been 80-20.
Yeah.
I mean, 80%, mental, and 20% paranormal, and it's, oh my God, dude.
Well, I would, to get back to what you're saying, I would agree with your numbers. I really would. An 80-20% or even a 90-10%.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, there's things that go on in the world. It's just that there's also a lot of delusional people out there.
Yeah, and we really don't know. I mean, me and you can have high blood pressure, and we taking these high blood pressure pills, but we don't know what these pharmaceuticals are putting into these pills. I mean, it could be half or whatever, and it could be 5% of something that can make you see things. So you really don't know.
So, all right, you bring up an excellent point. Let me. So I'm a diabetic, right? And I take certain pills. Now, one thing that I've noticed is when you do make contact with spirits, it almost feels like your sugar dropping. So I have to understand, because it's happened to me quite a few times, where I think that my sugar is dropping, but it's actually something trying to make contact with me. So what I do is I check my little strip on my arm, or I check my finger. I prick my finger to see if it's my sugar. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a false positive with my thinking that it's a diabetic issue I'm having, but it's actually something that's paranormal. Same thing when people get dizziness. They think they have vertigo. So they hurry up and start going grabbing Motrin and this and that, but maybe you're having an experience.
Right.
So sometimes it's hard to differentiate a unless you have the tools in front of you, like my AccuCheck machine, and knowing that you don't have vertigo because of the dizziness. So, it is interesting that when we do make contact with things, that some of them have a similarity to a condition that we might have medically.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think about the Catholic Church?
The Catholic Church. Now you're getting deep, Terry. Now you're getting deep, man. How can I put it to you? Well, my theory, my thinking on it is, I think organized religion is great. I really do. I believe in God. I truly do. I believe in Jesus Christ. I know there's people out there who don't believe in death and God and this and that. And that's all fine and good with you. And then with the Catholic Church, there was a thing that Nostradamus came out with through one of his quatrains, talking about how one pope would die and then the last one would come, and then all of a sudden all the bishops would be in charge. And I think that that's what we're looking close to right now, because I don't think that there's really a pope that's in charge. I think there's more other people behind the Catholic Church. Do I believe in the Catholic Church as a very good religious entity? Yeah, I do. And don't get me wrong, there's bad people in any religion, but what kind of, when you say the Catholic Church, what do you actually ask?
Because the way history tells you that the Catholic Church is the reason all this is happening. It's the reason why paranormal investigators are investigating, because it's something that they did when back during the time where they were sending out paranormal investigators to investigate certain things that happen in certain parts of the world. Now, in this modern day and time, it seems like they kind of backed away on the things that we do. And, and I've asked a lot of people these questions. Okay. Well, why do you think they have backed away from it? And, considering these are the ones, the people that opened the door and paved the way for paranormal investigators, I think that's kind of odd that they would do something like that. What do you think?
All right, so now I understand your question better. I agree with you that they frown upon us. Like when I go to these certain churches, or if I go to, or I have a case and they reached out to a priest, and I tell people to call a priest. I really do. It helps your faith. But then all of a sudden I'll get a phone call from Father Smith saying, Neil, who the hell do you think you are? Going to this person's house. Now, hold on, Father. I didn't call them. They called me. All right. What I do is, and I explain it to him, and believe me, I'm very respectful. I respect it. My uncle's a priest. My mom, like I said, was a nun at one time. So I'm very respectful of it. And I explain to him, this is what I do. I go, for you to get on the phone with me and knock me down and say, like we're at the old Catholic school, like I'm supposed to listen to you and get in line. It's not happening. Do I agree with you about that? They utilize us? Yes. Behind closed doors, they utilize us. They don't want it commercialized because they don't want people freaking out. There's a story that's off of Archer Avenue story about the Resurrection Mary, okay? There's this not chain link fence, there's this big iron fence that people have seen Resurrection Mary holding these bars. And when they went to go look to see if she was still there, she was gone, but there were dainty fingerprints embedded inside these bars, and they were burnt. So for years, since the 1930s and 40s, they have been removing those bars or trying to clean them up, but no matter what, these indents continue on these. And they do not, it's at a place called Resurrection Cemetery that's located in the Chicagoland area. And no matter what they do, they cannot remove these dainty fingerprints. They will never be gone. So what they do is they try to remove the bars now because they don't want that highlight. They want you to just think the way that they want you to think sometimes, Like I've talked to some of these priests, and I'm not saying all of them, but there's certain guys that want you to believe that they're in charge, and they want you to think a certain way. If you don't think they're a certain way, they don't want nothing to do with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So now that I better understood your question, because that's a large door to open a conversation, man.
Yeah, it's pretty. And trust me, man, we've debated hours on the show about religion and the Catholic Church, and not just the Catholic Church, other religions also. Uh, Neil, Chicago, man. One thing Chicago has a lot of urban legends. Do you waste your time with those, or do you try to figure them out?
No, I don't waste my time with them. It's part of what I do. It's part of the tour guides. See, urban legends. Okay, urban legends. A lot of urban legends in Chicago probably came from a lot of people who came to America. Take for instance the Irish, the Polish, the Germans. They came to America to find a better life, like some people do today as well, right? So they come here to America, and what they do is they have their old cultured stories. All right. And they tell these stories, and then they become adopted in certain areas. And there's an ounce of truth when you come to, like, we'll say an urban story like Resurrection Mary I was telling you about. That's an urban-based story, right? But my point to this story is that I tell people that I believe it's a story that was made up by the community, because church back in the 1920s and 30s was very strict. So if I come up with a story about a young lady who is going out at night and she gets hit by a car because she was out dancing late at night, smoking and drinking, that these could probably be the repercussions to your actions, maybe I could scare those kids and start an urban legend. But yet there's an ounce of truth to everything, because now what's odd, all of a sudden, an apparition of this young girl starts showing up. So I don't think that I waste my time with them, because I love a good story and I love telling a good story.
Okay. What about that one movie that they made, the guy with the hook? Candyman.
Right. So
Candyman.
So that's just so that people don't know. Now, Candyman. All right. So I was about to watch Candyman 2. Okay. There's a real story, but it wasn't over in Cabrini Green. It wasn't in Cabrini Green. It originally was from that place I call Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, about a man with a hook. It's where they blend certain stories, because if you think about it, they're blending the Bloody Mary story with Candyman, because in Candyman you have to say it 5 times, whereas in Bloody Mary you got to say it 3 times, right?
Right.
All right, so they're blending a story. Hollywood's making a story, right? Then they blend it with a story about this guy who escaped from a Tinley Park mental institution located in the Chicagoland area, who had a hooked hand. And he was at this Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in this area where girls and guys would go out, just making out and this and that, and do what guys and girls do when they're young. And slowly he would come through the night with this hook hand, and he would just start hitting the man and then cutting up the woman and this and that, and then hanging them in the treetops. So everything's like a blend of so many of these different storylines.
Oh, man.
And then you have Candyman, which, by the way, was great. Once again, I love Hollywood movies, but I know that these are stories, man.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, let's talk about Atkinson, Kansas, the Sally House. Man, when I went to that place, when I went to it, it was like 4 years ago. The place was actually owned by the city. The city actually took over the house. It was all run down, and the city wasn't cutting the grass and all that. It was just basically sitting there. So we went there, we looked there, we looked around, and I was weird because I felt his presence looking at me in the window. And so when I turned my head, the window, the blinds kind of went like that or whatever. And I tried to debunk it as much as I can. Well, I went around to the air conditioning to see if the air conditioning was on. It could have been something. But then also I realized that the place was abandoned. Nobody lived in it. The last time I remember, it was a couple that lived in there and they moved out.
Right.
But the history of the Sally House is kind of twisted. A lot of people say it was this, it was that. A lot of people saying that the doctor had an affair with the housemaid, and they had a little kid together, a little biracial kid.
Mhm.
And they tried to keep it as much as hush hush as they could, but it got out and kind of found out the little kid had caught the flu or something, and she ended up passing in the house, and the mother ended up passing in the house also. Not sure where the the doctor ended up going to. But what do you think the history of that place is?
So the history of the place is because I went there and I did a small documentary there. Is that you had the doctor who lived inside the house. Behind him lived the maid who worked for him, and where
Hmm.
you're right about. And um, she had a little daughter who had appendicitis.
Right.
And he brought her into the house sometime late at night. And supposedly it was thunder and lightning, and he did not have anything to put her to sleep. So he had to, because he knew the appendix had to come out, he opened her up while she was alive and alert. And the trauma through that caused her to die on the table. Now, the story, and your audience can check out, is actually on a show that used to be in the 90s called Sightings. Sightings was
Hmm.
one of the best shows that was ever out there, if you ask me. I love that show. That's why Sally House became one of my bucket lists. And there is supposedly a little child girl inside there that scratches men, hates men. What I've gotten from there is when you enter into the girl's room, for me being an empath, you feel them coming through the back end of your neck and they try to enter inside. And you're now taking on, like I said before, you're taking on someone else's characteristics or their emotions or who they are or what they are. There are two very strong entities inside the Sally house. One is definitely stronger than the other. The one that's inside the bedroom is strong, but the one that's inside the master bedroom is stronger.
I think that's the mother.
Well, I don't know who or what it was, but the mother actually, like I said, lived behind the house, or maybe the mother of the husband, who was the doctor, maybe so. But there is definitely two strong entities inside there. Um, and the feeling that you get, and you will fall asleep sometimes. And when you do fall asleep, you get very, very well. Of course, if you fall asleep, you get very tired. But it may try to make you very tired so you can fall asleep. So it can try to take advantage of you, not physically, but slowly get inside you. I remember myself. I just had to go to sleep. I had to take a nap, man. But that place there is a very real place. Now, once again, is if you're first time doing this, don't go to the Sally house.
Right.
Don't. If I notice that something ain't right, man, and I really feel bad, I'll probably leave a place. I ain't lying to you, man. If I know that I can't deal with something, because there's been many times where I come home from places and I get these attachments and I have to sit on my couch for 2 or 3 days. Because as I do this more and more, I get stronger and stronger at it, yes, but I also get sicker and sicker. So I have to take breaks every now and then, or I come home and I get sick. I don't like it's a horrible feeling, actually.
Hey, that's a nice looking chair you're sitting on.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's
Now, is it green or is
No,
it
it's
black?
black, and my wife bought it for me. It's supposed to,
Oh, okay.
help
Wow.
out the back and stuff like that. It's supposed to be
Okay.
comfortable, I guess.
The one thing down here that we have an abundance of, and I don't know about Chicago, is a lot of abandoned nursing homes and facilities where a hospital would shut itself down because they ran out of funding or the state don't provide for them. And and everything. If you got the hotel, the hospital, and you got everything else that trickles down under it. You got a nursing home, you got recovery centers, and so on and so on. Because you can't have one without the other two. because the hospital needs some place
Sure.
to, to go recover and so on and so on. But down here, you just can't do that in the in the hospital. They'll send you somewhere to recover, and
Sure.
so we have an abundance of those, man. I mean, nursing homes, man, they're basically on every corner around here.
Yeah, and they're
There's
abandoned. Well,
some of
take
them are, some of them aren't. The one on the east side of Austin, majority of them are,
yeah.
because there is a lot of gentrification going on here. A lot of people are moving out of the old neighborhoods, and the high rises are moving in. But before the high rises can knock down certain locations, man, that's been sitting there for like 20 to 30 years. And, people had taken copper and whatever they want
Oh
out of it,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so you're able to go in there and investigate. And, and that's what me and my team, that's what we focus on. And we've been into some of the most haunted, unknown locations in Central Texas, man. I can only say, if you ever want to come down to Austin, man, and ever investigate, uh, 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 man, what's the square footage of that nursing home? Oh my God, dude! I could say maybe, oh man, a couple of 100 square feet. Yeah, it's a pretty big one, man,
Yeah.
and uh, and it's active. I mean, dude, we've heard clear EVPs. I had a man, somebody spoke in my ear, and I'm it. You ever go watch any of our paranormal page, NSPS TV Paranormal, you'll be able to see some of the investigations that we do in some of these locations. And man, you will be shocked on some of the stuff that we see, we pick up, and we hear. I mean, it's unbelievable. Hell, sometimes just because you go and investigate a location doesn't mean that you're done with that location. You
Right. No,
literally,
because yeah, different things can happen on different days. And the
yeah.
thing is about nursing homes and or jails or anything like that, they start to get a very bad negativity to it, which is going to be a feeding ground for other negativity that may cause shadow people.
And what is the one thing that attracts spirits? You gotta, if it's not the electricity in the air that amplifies things 10 times, 100 times fold,
Mhm.
uh, running water, creeks, and stuff like that. Well, man, we ran into a location where, hell, I couldn't tell you how long that water has been running. And, and it was in the back of the nursing home, and man, the water was just flowing. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, check this out. You know,
Yeah.
the activity in the place. And what's so crazy about it, Neil, the backside, this is the backside. The activity was actually on the same side of where the water was flowing. And so we had to put two and two. I'm like, wait a minute. You got running water, you got more activity in this location than what's going on up front. So this right here, the water has a little bit to do with what's going on here. So man, that was a heck of a night, man. We've actually had one of our team members attacked, and I know why. You can't go in a location. You can't be the weakest link because they, you know, they can feel that. If you're weak, mentally and physically and spiritually, guess who they're going to come after?
You.
You.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So we end up carrying her out of there, and taking her out so she can, make sure that she's okay. But man, that very interesting. Anytime you're dealing with a place where, like a nursing home, man, people are unbelievable. And not only that, Neil, you're dealing with people from different time zones, different time eras. Because one of these locations didn't open up until post World War II.
Yeah.
So all these people from Germany was coming to Texas, and they were putting them in these they died in there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
They
now
became
you're dealing with,
sanatoriums. They became
yeah,
sanatoriums. Yeah, yeah.
it's one of those things that uh, if you ever in Texas or you ever have an opportunity to investigate uh, a nursing home, an abandoned um, hospital. Man, I'm really trying to get down to the charity to New Orleans to get to the charity hospital. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know a little bit about that,
I've heard of it. I
but
don't know that much about it.
that place has been closed, bro, since Katrina.
Mm. Mm.
It's been closed since Katrina, man. And Tulsa University Hospital owns the location now. So they have to go in there and suck all that water because there's water still in there. And that thing, and Katrina happened, what, almost 15 years ago, maybe more?
Well, it was during wasn't the Saints won the Super Bowl the next following year, so what was that, 2008?
Yeah, it's been almost, man, close to 20 years, if not
Yeah.
less than that. And all that water is still down there. So they had to suck all that water out,
Yeah.
and take it out before they die. But the craziest things is the cops are so scared to go in that place. Somebody put a Christmas tree, a lit Christmas tree, on I think the 15th floor or the 20th floor of that hospital, and they don't even want to go in there and see what the hell's going on. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
New Orleans is probably one of the most haunted cities in the country, if not the world.
All right. So one of your people asked me, have you ever been to Ashmore Estates? In Rappian. I have not been to Ashmore Estates, but I was talking about it earlier. I was explaining to people that's probably from what I gather from other people who tell me, that's one of those places where people should go to if they want some good connection, get some good evidence. That's not malevolent. I was actually talking about that earlier, but no, I've never been to Ashmore Estates. I'm assuming maybe you have. If not, I do recommend that for people. From what I hear, it's actually a very hard place to get into. They sell out quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a serious question, and hopefully you give me an honest answer.
I try.
What is the reasoning why paranormal investigators why do we investigate the unknown? What do you think the main reason for that is?
Well, number one, when you use the word main reason, it has to be defined by the individual. Everybody has their own reason and rhyme why they are. Did they want to all of a sudden get in contact with mom, with dad? Did they want to find out if something's going on the other side? Many questions, they have to ask is like, which ones are you interested in? Is it because you're trying to look for that connection with someone who passed away? Or are you looking for that connection for just trying to discover what's going on? And I think that's only defined by the individual. For me, myself, I would say it's just to make contact. For me, I like going there and knowing all the histories like I do in Chicago. And we just go ahead and do that. And I think it's for the individual. That's the best way I could say it. Each and every individual has their own take on it.
Okay. Central Illinois Ghost Hunters, I had Shane on the show yesterday. Very interesting guy, well knowledgeable and what he does. But these guys here say they have Ashmore Estates rented out in October.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And it's February already. And I'm going to tell you, Ashmore's Estates is a very popular place to go to and to rent out. That's what I was telling you earlier. Shane, Take, for instance, the Roth House, which we rent out to people. Once again, it's a popular place. Why? Because people get good evidence at a lot of these certain locations. I'm sure that you, Shane, get a lot of evidence there that you are able to sift through and check out what you have. I'm assuming you get a lot of good evidence. That's what I hear, because one or two of my team members, they said, Neil, we got to go to Ashmore Estates. That they've been there many times.
Yeah. Okay. So what are we looking at price wise,
Well, I don't
Neil?
know. You'd have to go on their website. I have nothing to do with that. For our things, what we
Yes.
do is like in October, we rent out. First, you have to rent out the house, so you got to pay their price. So then you have to also then add on what you're going to do the work that you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, if we rent out a house to a group, it's going to be about $90 per person. And what happens is you get from 8 o'clock at night to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Once again, you use all of our equipment. Everything that we have, you utilize. In the end, we send you all your EVPs, okay, through your email, and so you can go through. We also order pizza for you. We make sure you're fed. We make sure that's all part of the price.
Wow.
If you're going to be a ghost hunter, researcher, whatever, but you're going to be going out for the ghost hunt, well, the cuisine for a ghost hunter is what? Pizza. That's what we eat. We eat pizza. So, we make sure that we order that for the people, and we make sure that they have a lot of fun.
Okay. Hey, Chuck, I don't know if you listened to the podcast yesterday when I had Shane on the show, but I'm really trying to get you down to Texas so you can do all my video editing for me. If you're willing to come to Texas, man, pack up your bags, hey, and I'm gonna send you a ticket. So because you do great work, brother. You definitely do great work. You know what, Neil? We've been on the show for an hour and 21 minutes, man. And you know what? It's been educational, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Tell the world how to get a hold of you, man. If they want to come up there and hang out with you and see all these locations that we talked about this evening.
Yeah. So it's under Graveside Paranormal, as you can see down on Terry's screen. You can look us up on Facebook. We're also on YouTube. You can see the little videos that we do, and you can also see our podcast, The Paranormal Guys Podcast, that you can see. You can also check out the Paranormal Podcast wherever you stream. We're on every outlet that streams on. All we do is we always have special guests on. Like next week, Chris Fleming's going to be on. We recorded with Chris Fleming from Haunted Ireland. He's going to be on next week. We spoke for over 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
He's so awesome. Chris Fleming is so awesome. I had Tim Banal from Coast to Coast AM. All the people I meet, and I really love doing what I do, Terry, just like I'm sure you do, is just meeting a lot of people and just enjoying, just having these conversations, man.
That's why I do what I do, because I love meeting people like you. And not only that, it's education. You're constantly learning. And when you learn, that's when you evolve. And so learning takes a big part in all of this, man. And dude, the knowledge all you do is sit back and just listen, and and your mind is just sucking it all in, and you're like, oh man,
that's when I tell you, there's no such things as experts in this field, man. Don't let somebody bullcrap you saying, oh, I'm an expert at this. What it is everybody does their own thing, and they learn, and then they share. I didn't realize that we started getting, other people are going to start noticing that, like on spirit boxes and EVPs, something might sound backwards. So I started noticing that a lot of our recordings are reversed. So you throw in the Audacity program, reverse, and run it forward plane, and I call them mirror zones, and you start getting regular replies. It's a weird thing. It's really weird, man.
All right. Well, you know what? I got to ask this one question before we get out of here, man. I already know the Sally House is on your bucket list. Where else would you like to go on your bucket list?
Well, where do I want to go to the Axe Murder House.
Wait a minute. Let me see.
Where is that? Is that in Iowa?
Oh man.
Yeah, I believe
somewhere in the Midwest.
I heard it's very small home.
Mm-hmm.
See, But like, all right, take for instance, I'm renting out. We're doing a thing called in September, a lockdown, a paranormal lockdown at the Old Lake County Jail in Indiana, in Crown Point, Indiana. I'm renting out the whole jail, as well as the courthouse next door. We're going to have vendors out there. Yeah, Velasquez Axe Murder House. Thank you, Iowa. Thank you very much. So I rented out. Thank you very much. And I rented out the Crown Point Jail, the Old Lake County Jail. We're going to have vendors out there. We're going to run ghost tours throughout there on September 15th. Which is a Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have paranormal speakers out there. I recommend anybody to come out, have a good time. All that stuff will be coming out in the next couple weeks of all the advertisement the next 2 weeks.
Man, that sounds like a big Paracon to me.
Yeah, that's last year we didn't do it because I'm not gonna lie to you, I was just tired, man. I was just tired.
Yeah,
so this year I started. Yeah, so I started back up, and it's going to be called the Old Lake County Jail Haunted Lockdown.
Well, because Paracons down here in Texas is far and few. I don't know why that is, but it's just one of those things, man. Nobody. I mean, believe it or not, Neil, I went to my first Paracon last month in San Antonio, and if you don't catch them, you probably never will because they're far and few. Man, the next Paracon I've ever heard of was the one in Louisiana.
Yeah,
but anything in Texas, nah.
Well, if you come out this year, come on out. You'll be my guest.
Hey, man, we got to find Godfather's Pizza, man, if I come up there.
I'll take you to a real pizza place, man.
Well, I thought there was a real pizza place.
Well, if it's not around anymore, I got to move you on to the next best thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know if anything can beat that, though.
Man, I got some stuff for you.
And plus, they delivered.
I got some stuff for you.
Oh, wait. All right, man. Well, Neil, hey, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Thank you very much for having me.
And if it's possible, I'd like to get you back on the show with your team.
All right.
Hey, find some way to pick their minds and see what they're thinking.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But yeah, man, it's been a pleasure.
Right.
Hey guys, if you guys have any questions, which I think Chuck is wanting to get a hold of you with Central Illinois Ghost Hunters.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys will be able to connect. Chuck, if you want to get a hold of him, go to Graveside.
Go to Graveside Paranormal or Neil, Neal, at gravesideparanormal.com. That's my email.
Right on. Well, brother, any last comments before we get out of here?
Well, like I always say to all my customers, and like always, boys and girls, boo.
Okay. Well, you know what, man? I can't get enough, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, my friend.
Hey, and if one day, man, if you ever need somebody to be on your show, Wednesdays are kind of hard for, I get a lot of offers to come on people's shows, but I can't because one, I work Monday through Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's really hard for me to get, unless you willing to do a midnight show. It's really hard for me to get on anyone's podcast.
I hear you. I would actually, if I was ever to have you on, I would put you on a panel one.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I did this before where we do like 3 different kinds of stories and get everybody's thoughts on these stories.
Okay. Well, if you ever decide to do that, please count me in. I'm down.
All right, sounds good.
The brothers are down, man.
All right.
You already know how we do it.
We do what we do because we do it so well.
Yeah, man, you know it. Hey, hopefully, just to save face, the Cowboys, I hope you guys get the Cowboys quarterback, and I hope we get y'all quarterback. So that's where you guys, Chicago Bears are used to losing. Cowboys, hey, and the Cowboys can continue to lose. So it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, well.
Are you a Bears?
Well, thanks for having me, Terry.
sir, man. You enjoy the rest of your evening, man, and tell your wife I said hello and all that stuff from Texas. Hey guys, this is Terry from NSPS TV Paranormal Podcast in the Lion's Den once again on Sunday evening podcast with Neil and Graveside Paranormal from Chicago, Illinois. If you guys got any questions for them, feel free, man. We didn't put the contact info out. Hey, all you got to do is put it out and he'll reach back to you. But with enough said, hey, I got to go eat me some zingers and milk. And and Neil, I don't know what he's got to do. Maybe
Chinese
he's
food.
gonna watch
Chinese food.
TV. You know, but with enough said, hey, you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace. All right, Neil, you have yourself a good one, brother.
All right, buddy.